going to be talking about, believe it or not, super chickens. Super chickens. It's actually a study that was done about super chickens. You know, we're literally in a society that says, "Can you supersize that for me? I like a super." As a matter of fact, I think they had a movie. Did they have a movie called "Super Size Me" or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that was deep. Do you hear anything else about that? Can you stress that? Was it like? Did it have pictures and video in it, or what do you think?
No, there was a guy that actually did a like grassroots documentary all about like the fast food industry, and he ate nothing but McDonald's food for 30 days.
He had to be healthy, right?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
It's actually a really good informational movie if you haven't seen it.
I've actually seen that one, Pat.
You seen that one?
No, just the consequences from eating at that menu.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I quit eating them places a long time ago.
I was so confused. You pull up, you were going to order a hamburger, and they go, "Do you want to supersize that?" I was like, "I'm confused. What does that mean? I mean, it's already bad. You want to make a supersize for the thing?" And so, but you know, we're just in that mindset, aren't we? That well, the world is, America is. It's like when I went to Israel. There was so many shocks. But the biggest shock was when I went to the store, and they had little bitty containers for their food. I mean, we got big tubs of butter here. We got big tubs of everything. They had just little old small containers of food. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's not right what we're doing in America, right? And then I went shopping with Donna, my wife, and sometime back in anyway. So, and I went to Sam's with her, and it's like shelves of just huge stuff. It's like, yeah, I would like not just one large box of detergent, but 30 boxes of detergents.
They're like warehouses, shelves are warehouses. Yeah. That's how blessed we are.
We're just so, I looked at that and said, thank God, look at this blessing that we have here, right? And so, but you know, that's actually translated down to the church, where the people aren't happy or think it's church unless it's what? Supersized. You know, it's like, I know this is good, but can we have some acoustics with that and a little bit less of that? And we need can we give it $1 million soundboard here? And by the way, he needs to do something with his hair. He needs to spike up more like Steve's hair. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be a little spiky, a little design, that type of thing. Well, there's a study done and about literally discovering about corporations. And we can learn so much about, you know, how we do things by just looking at how things are. You know, Romans chapter 1, verse 20 says, you know, that we can understand God by the things that he's designed. And you can, this particular study done by Margaret Hefferman, she was doing a TED Talk with TED Women in 2015, and she's talking about, you know, what makes corporations successful, you know, what makes companies successful. Everybody's interested in that. And I would hope the church is, you know, interested in that. And I'm thinking about, what Jesus said. And before we enter into what she talks about, it's very important. I mean, think about this. They studied chickens, and don't go away, because we're going to tell you the secret to be a successful chicken, right? To be a successful not a super, I don't know. It's a secret, and we're going to share it in just a moment. But I want you to listen or watch what, you know, Jesus said about it in his word. He's talking about, you know, specifically about how can we, and a successful chicken is measured by this. How many eggs did you lay? How fruitful were you, right? That's a successful chicken. Well, look at this. He said, Jesus says, this is him saying this. So this is his words. This is red letter, but they're not red letter. He says, I am the vine. My Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. But every branch that bears fruit, in other words, every chicken that lays eggs, he prunes, that it may be more fruitful. You are, look at this, you are already clean because of the word which I've spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branches cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in the vine. Look, it says a little bit further down. He says, I am the vine. So Jesus is saying, I gave you an analogy here, but he's going, you know, I am the vine. So that's what he's talking about. I am the vine, you are the branches. He abides in me. He who abides in me, I in him, will bear much fruit. For without me, he can do nothing. So we can't lay no eggs. If we're a chicken, we can't lay any eggs without Jesus touching us and us walking with Jesus. If anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out and thrown and to be withered and gathered in the fire. Oh my goodness, go to verse 7. If you abide in me and my word abides in you, you can ask whatever you wish and it'll be done for you. By this, by being fruitful, by laying more eggs in the analogy, he says, you'll be glorifying the Father. This is how we glorify the Father, by being fruitful, that we may bear much fruit. Look at verse 16. He says, you didn't even choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and the fruit that remains, lasting fruit. And this is to our Father's glory that you do this. So you're looking at it. It's just so powerful to watch, when you're thinking about, what, we're not even looking into, it's like, how do we be more fruitful? And we kind of look a lot like the super chicken when you think about it. We're actually thinking that, we should, pay somebody to do the work, right? Well, here she is. This right here is, let me get her name for you so I get it right for you. This is Margaret Hefner. She's speaking at the women's conference at a women's summit and TED Talk Women. And she's talking about a study that was done for a super chicken. Check it out. We'll be right back after she's talking about this to talk about how does that apply to us if we're looking at the super chicken, super size me type menu.
An evolutionary biologist at Purdue University named William Muir studied chickens. He was interested in productivity. I think it's something that concerns all of us. But it's easy to measure in chickens because you just count the eggs. He wanted to know what could make his chickens more productive, so he devised a beautiful experiment. Chickens live in groups, so first of all he selected just an average flock, and he let it alone for 6 generations. But then he created a second group of the individually most productive chickens. You could call them super chickens. And he put them together in a super flock. And each generation he selected only the most productive for breeding. After 6 generations had passed, what did he find? Well, the first group, the average group, was doing just fine. They were all plump and fully feathered, and egg production had increased dramatically. What about the second group? Well, all but 3 were dead. They'd pecked the rest to death. The individually productive chickens had only achieved their success by suppressing the productivity of the rest. Now, as I've gone around the world talking about this and telling this story in all sorts of organizations and companies, people have seen the relevance almost instantly, and they come up and they say things to me like, that super flock, that's my company. Or, that's my country. Or, that's my life. All my life I've been told that the way we have to get ahead is to compete. Get into the right school, get into the right job, get to the top. And I've really never found it very inspiring. I've started and run businesses because invention is a joy, and because working alongside brilliant creative people is its own reward. And I've never really felt very motivated by pecking orders or by super chickens or by superstars. But for the past 50 years, we've run most organizations and some societies along the super chicken model. We've thought that success is achieved by picking the superstars, the brightest men or occasionally women in the room, and giving them all the resources and all the power. And the result has been just the same as in William Muir's experiment: aggression, dysfunction, and waste. If the only way the most productive can be successful is by suppressing the productivity of the rest, then we badly need to find a better way to work and a richer way to live.
This is so powerful. This is so powerful because you're seeing this study they did about super chickens. Obviously, this is not about chickens. This is about how to be more productive. And today, when you think about it, how many people just end up paying someone to be the superstar? You go out and you in the church, you're going to be the as a matter of fact, a lot of people volunteer to be the superstar. There's people like, I want my name up in lights, and this is what I want. So, I mean, we could learn a lot because the interesting thing was the ones that were more productive weren't the superstars. I mean, think about that, Steve. When you're talking about that how many people think it's actually going to be the superstar that does everything that's going to make things happen, right?
Yeah, and that's why I think that was so wild that in that study they found out that the the way that productivity came was because they basically pecked out the other ones that they thought was slowing them down because they themselves were, the super chicken. And it's like, you look at that verse, like you read in John 15, it's, Jesus said, in me, you'll bear much fruit. Yeah. And it's like already the only super chicken is Jesus. And it's that recognition of just like,
not that he's a chicken, right? That's where it said Jesus. Lord.
Jesus is not a chicken.
Wash me, Jesus. That was Steve.
But it's that awareness of that. You can't have any production if you're trying to do something in your own strength. If you're trying to realize that you're going to do it on your own, you're already, it's only a matter of time before you burn out. And it's like when you come to the recognition that what is success, what is production, but it's like, you got to have people around you. You got to have that awareness of like, I can't do it on my own.
But you see, God's designed it that way, that each of us have a part. And, some people think it's just so much easier for me just to do it. But the truth is you're not supposed to do it all. And in God, we're supposed to listen. If any, in the movie, the drama years ago that I don't vouch for, but the title of it, Jesus Christ Superstar, and that he's the superstar of his church. He's the one that is, that he's the star. Tommy Tenney says, God has this interesting idea that church is about him, and it is. It's totally about him. And when you think about what he's doing, that he said he calls us to be fruitful. He says, I want you to be fruitful. I want you to bear much fruit. I want you to bear fruit that lasts. I want to bear fruit that lasts. And it's so important to think about this because Jesus says we're not known by what we
do.
We're known by our fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, and the word known, when you think about known, it's a lot of superstars that people are paying to do something, they're known. But the question is, are you known? Well, are you known? Because Matthew chapter 7 says something very specifically. It says, I never what? Jesus says, I never knew you. But they did a lot of things, right? They did things that we would call very, very churchy, very religious, very, seems right. He's laying hands on the sick. People are getting well. He's casting out demons. He's prophesying. He's speaking in tongues and whatever it is. And but he's saying, like, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoer. So this program is really about not all the clicking noise that I'm hearing right now, but this program is about specifically about you. We wanted to tell you now because Jesus is an awesome Lord and Savior, but he's also a judge, and that he's a righteous judge. Behold the goodness and kindness of God, and that we have to produce fruit. Jesus says the only way you're going to know someone is by their fruit. And the super chicken analogy is the fact that, okay, they got 5 eggs, they got 4 eggs, what does Jesus call fruit? What does that come out as? And so it's important for us to realize, and you can partner with someone, like all of our partners. Thank you for those that partner with us, and that are praying for us even right now as we're on the air broadcasting around the world, that it's us together doing this. So we're all producing fruit together. But are you a part of what God is doing, in producing, as this whole analogy here that William Muir had did the particular study about super chickens.